Shabbat Shalom and Good Yantif, which I will explain in a moment. You might be surprised to be hearing Good Yantif tonight. It is not just Shabbat, it is also the last day of Passover. If you're conservative or Orthodox, it's the seventh of 8 days. But as Reform Jews, Passover in the Torah is a 7-day holiday. There's no reason we have to observe more than that. But wherever you are, Reform, Conservative, Orthodox, today is a Yom Tov, a Yantif, and I'll talk a little more about that later in the service. It is also a beautiful night. This morning, when my kids woke up, they were going outside, and I said, make sure you put on a jacket. And even the Coloradan in me at 47 degrees said, it's freezing outside. And my almost 4-year-old went out in his underwear and t-shirt and said, it's not cold, it's glorious. Well, tonight it really is glorious. And if you are with us at home, I hope you are able to go for a walk this evening after services. You might need a sweatshirt, but it really is lovely. We're not going to have days like this for long. To those of you who are with us in our outdoor sanctuary, it's wonderful seeing your faces. And to those who are at home, we, as we have for a year, feel like we see your faces. You are part of this congregation, and it is wonderful having you with us tonight as well. If you are at home, hopefully you have candles and something for Kiddush ready. We are saying the blessing for candles and Kiddush both for Shabbat and for Yom Tov as we begin this last day. Now, last day of Passover does not mean you can eat bread yet. Tomorrow night we have a whole day. But so make sure your Kiddush is not beer still. Wine or grape juice will do. So Cantor will now lead us in candles and Kiddush for Shabbat and Yom Tov. And if our candles don't stay lit, we will count someone at homes as ours.
Which may have to happen. We'll see if I can get it to stay lit just for a little bit. There we go. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov. Amen. And now if you have your Kiddush cup, I invite you to raise it and have wine, grape juice, whatever you have in there. Thank you. Even pretend Kiddush cups, yes. But please know this is a festival, so the Kiddush is going to be a little different than what you're used to, but please follow along, join in if you know it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am ורוממנו מכל לשון, וקידשנו במצוותיו. ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה, שבתות למנוחה ומועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון. את יום השבת הזה ואת יום חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו מקרא קודש, זכר יציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת מועדי קודשך, באהבה וברצון, בשמחה ובששון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת וישראל והזמנים. Amen.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
And we welcome Shabbat into our sanctuary with the song L'cha Dodi. Ya la 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 lecha dodi. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Do you not capo 3? Did I?
No.
Oh, okay, we're going
There's
to
no
try that
capo
again.
for that.
We're
Yeah.
going to try that again.
That's much better.
I like that. Ya la 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 lecha dodi. Now we're ready for Shabbat. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabel. Ya la 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 lecha dodi. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Amor v'zachor v'dibur echad v'ishmiyanu el hamiuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Ya la 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 lecha dodi. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Ya la 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 lecha dodi. Ya la 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 likrat kala. Ya la 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 Pnei Shabbat. Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Teach me, O God, a blessing, a prayer on the mystery of a withered leaf, on ripened fruit so fair, on the freedom to see, to sense, to breathe, to know, to hope, to despair. Teach my lips a blessing, a hymn of praise, as each morning and night you renew your days. Lest my day be today as the one before, lest routine set my ways. If you are able and comfortable, we rise at this time as we join together in our call to worship, the Baruch Hu.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Ya la 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 la, 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai, Hamevorach.
Baruch Adonai, Hamevorach. Enlighten our eyes to the divine lessons of our tradition. Attach our hearts to the imperatives of our faith. And let our minds be one to love and venerate all that is good, high, and holy. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, Adonai, who loves your people Israel.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. And you may all be seated. We now join together in chanting the continuation of the Shema, Ve'ahavta. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu advarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'veitecha, u'v'lechtecha v'derech, u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha, u'kshartam leot ayadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, Uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tizkeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'tem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem Asher hoseiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
How many of you get midnight phone calls on your birthday? One. I don't. But I do get a call every morning from my dad saying, "Aren't you glad I didn't call you at midnight?" Which I am. And this year, as I had a big birthday at midnight, my wife did, we weren't quite asleep. And she said, "Oh, happy birthday." And I did grow up where midnight was this exciting moment where birthdays began. But we don't necessarily think about when birthdays end. It was the day, and then it's not anymore. Our instinct, I think, is to say that beginnings are more important than endings. But our Jewish tradition teaches us otherwise. As I explained, the last day of Passover and the end of Sukkot both have a Yom Tov, a Mikra Kodesh, as the Torah calls it, a time of holiness. We end Shabbat and festivals with Havdalah, making their end holy. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel writes that for most of civilization, the goal is mastering space. Now, I just learned that Rabbi Weiss always thought that a space heater was actually for outer space, not outer space.
I just never thought about it that hard.
Physical space, right? We're obsessed with making things, with owning things, with going places. But Judaism, Heschel writes, is a religion of time, aiming at the sanctification of time. And our Sabbaths, which include Shabbat and the festivals, from their beginning all the way to their end, are great cathedrals. Perhaps our tradition gives us Havdalah and the last day of festivals being a Yom Tov to remind us that these holidays and our lives are not just about beginning things. How many half-finished projects are sitting in our garages? How many unfulfilled promises are sitting in our relationships? Beginnings are easy, but finishing things, that's another story. We can light Shabbat candles, but maintaining the holiness of Shabbat for 24 hours, regardless of how we do it in our lives, that's hard. We can have Passover Seders, but maintaining the holiness of that time for 7 days, no matter how we do it, is hard. We can start things every day, but finishing them, that's the holy act. Our beginnings shape the potential for that thing's existence. On this Shabbat, as we begin our last day of Passover, may we remember that our days go beyond their beginnings and our lives go well beyond their origins. As we sing Mi Chamocha, the song our people sang at the shores of the sea, the end of one journey and the beginning of another, may we look at all of our days and all of our experiences as full moments with full potential, from their beginnings all the way through their ends. And may all of our beginnings and endings maintain the potential to be Mikra E Kodesh, holy times.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Torah tehilot, ozei melech. Torah tehilot, ozei melech. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Malchut techara uvanecha, pokea yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Ze'eli anu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Norah tehilot, ozei melech. Norah tehilot, ozei melech. Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. ונאמר כיבד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
We read together. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim. Blessed are you, Adonai, whose shelter of peace is spread over us, over all your people Israel, and over Jerusalem. And on this Shabbat and Yom Tov, we sing a song of Shabbat, V'shamru.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורותם בריאים olam, v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם.
ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We now ask you if you are comfortable to rise for the Amidah. One note, since this is the end of Passover, we now change in our season from winter to summer. And so we now, instead of saying Mashiv Haruach Umorit Hagashem, wishing for rain and dew, now we are asking for dew to fall in Israel. Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagid tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia. Morid hatah, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim verofei cholim, umatir asurim, umakayem emunato, lishene afar, michamocha ba'al gevurot, umido melach, melech memit umachayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimecha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day, and may all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. And now we join together in a prayer of peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim
tasim le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Litov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha tasim le'olam. Tasim le'olam. Tasim
And at this holy time, we have so many members of our community, those in our midst, those connected to us, and those in the wider world who are very much in the middle of a journey we pray that is on its way to healing. For all those who are fighting illness, whether physical or mental, we pray for strength for each of them, strength and patience for those who stand by them, and wisdom for those who care for them. As we pray for a refuah shlema, a full healing of body and of spirit for each of them. We take a moment to think of those for whom we are praying on this Shabbat before joining together in a Misha Berach of healing.
Sheberach avoteinu me'or habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mi
now we take a moment each for our own silent prayer, the prayers that are written on each of our hearts.
Everybody loves an underdog story. First one that comes to mind, Rocky, right? Low-level street thug who defies all the odds and becomes a boxing champion, at least by Rocky II. Take The Miracle on Ice in 1980, when the U.S. Olympic hockey team beat the supposedly invincible Soviet team. And in our own days, take the Tampa Bay Rays, perpetual underdogs who with spirit and determination made it to the World Series. These are all sports stories, so if you know anything about me, you know I am way out of my wheelhouse. But it's easier to pick out who the underdog is when all the sports journalists tell you who it is, right? You just have to pick up the newspaper. Why do we like these kinds of stories? Why do they capture us? There's a real emotional payoff that you don't get from rooting for the clear winner. And underdogs also give us hope that giants can be toppled and that we someday might be able to do the same. There's a kind of romance to it. And this attraction is part of the reason that the story of the Exodus that we retell at Passover each year captures our imaginations. The people of Israel are the lowest of the low, slaves in Egypt, sweating and breaking their backs at their master's whims. And you might be thinking, well, at least they got to build the pyramids. Now, first off, that was a couple thousand years earlier. But they were so low on the totem pole that even if they were making the pyramids, they wouldn't have gotten to make them. They were just making bricks and carrying them from one place to another. They built warehouses for grain. And yet, God the supreme being heard their cries, freed them, and lifted them up as the chosen people, overturning the very laws of nature to do so. In the end, the plucky Israelites overtake the big, strong Egyptians against all odds. An easy, feel-good story. See you later. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, hold on. I'm being told that our tradition doesn't like anything being simple. I'll keep going. Our Passover Haggadah asks us to think about those hurt and killed during the 10 plagues in Egypt by removing wine from our cups and diminishing our joy. We are thus meant to acknowledge those who suffered on our path to freedom, even those big, strong Egyptians who held us captive. And the Talmud further complicates our story by offering this midrash, a rabbinic addition to the story. When Israel made it to the other side of the Sea of Reeds, the Egyptians were trapped in the middle, stuck in the mud, and the sea closed over them, drowning everyone. The angels in heaven sing songs of rejoicing, but God, who closed the sea to free the Israelites, scolds them. My children are drowning, and you sing songs of joy. What is the message here? God was not asking the angels or the Israelites to weep over the deaths of their enemies, but God wanted us to refrain from celebrating their punishment. And why is that? We read in the book of Ezekiel, Adonai, your God, declares, I do not want the wicked to die, but rather that they turn from their wicked ways and live. Clearly, the Egyptians had been tempted into evil. Pharaoh convinced them that they should be afraid of the people of Israel, to the point that they killed Israelite children at birth. Perhaps the people believed that this would give their own children a better chance at a good life. But to that end, they were part of perpetuating a system that oppressed the other, that forced people into slavery. Despite all this, the Egyptians were just as human as the Israelites. They were God's precious creations. And yet, if returning to Egypt and becoming slaves again would save the lives of the Egyptians who drowned in the sea, we shouldn't have gone back. The Egyptians are the clear villains of this story. They were human, and they were wrong about slavery, and generations of people were traumatized for it. Now, I'm sure we all know people who we think are totally wrong about everything, who we think make all the wrong decisions, have all the wrong information, have all the wrong values. But we also know that most people come by their perspectives honestly. They understand the world based on their own experiences living in it, maybe from what their parents taught them, maybe from what their religion teaches, maybe from what they read on Facebook or Twitter. People are entitled to their perspective, and it is our obligation to approach them with empathy and understanding. They are as human as us. But that does not mean that we have to embrace their opinions, especially if we feel they are hurtful to others. There are two or more sides to every story. People are equal, but stories are not always. We should listen to these people and have a conversation, but we don't need to bend over backwards to accommodate ideas that compromise our deeply held values. And so, if we're going to accept the idea that other people have their views and I have mine, what's the point of trying to understand each other? Because if our tradition teaches anything, it's that people can change. In the story of the Sea of Reeds, the rabbis noticed that the text reports the deaths of Egyptian soldiers, but not Pharaoh himself. So they offer this midrash on what they imagine happened. Pharaoh survived in the Sea of Reeds, washed up on shore somewhere. and went to rule the city of Nineveh in Babylonia as its king. And the people of Nineveh were writing works of profanity, stealing from one another, engaging in all kinds of perversity and other such wicked things. And when God sent the prophet Jonah to deliver a prophecy to Nineveh about its destruction, Pharaoh, now the king of Nineveh, heard and stood up from his throne and tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes and announced to his people that they should all fast for 3 days in mourning, and that anyone who did not do it would be burned to death. That last part, we still get that little bit of the Pharaoh that we love to hate. But he is no longer the villain of the Exodus. The rabbis imagine him becoming the righteous and repentant king of the story of Jonah. Having experienced something painful that shifted his perspective, Pharaoh turns away from what is wrong and turns his people towards what is right. This is one of the lessons of the Exodus. When we show compassion toward and seek understanding of those who seem to be on the opposite side, we can help shift their perspective through relationship. And if we can't bring them around, they are no less deserving of human dignity and decency as anyone else. Perhaps the key to bringing about a perfect world is seeing the humanity in everyone, no matter what side they seem to be on. May God give us all the strength to do so. Shabbat Shalom. And because it is past the second day of Passover, we are now going to count the Omer, the 49 days between the second day of Passover and Shavuot, at which the Israelites would offer an Omer of grain each day. Now, I hope everyone brought their grain, so let's count. We start with the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot and commands us to count the Omer. This is an easy one. Hayom shisha yamim la'omer. Today is 6 days of the Omer.
Well, thank you, Rabbi Weiss. I'm not going to think too much about the chronology of Pharaoh and the Exodus and the Jonah story, because obviously the rabbis didn't. But that's a really neat midrash. Tomorrow is our Yom Tov Yizkor service. So at 10:30, we will be gathering online on Zoom, or it will be streaming on our website, not, well, maybe Facebook. I don't know. I think definitely on our website and on Zoom, and you might see it on Facebook also. But in addition to our Shabbat morning service, we have our Yizkor, because on these holidays, we know that we are extra aware of those empty chairs. So as we think of those of our loved ones, those who came before us, those who are such an important part of why we have the beliefs we have, of the way in which we understand all that is holy, we think about the ways in which they've influenced our lives. And I offer the following reading in their memory. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. So look for me in the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. But you can love me best by letting hands touch hands, by letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat, we remember those who have recently been laid to rest. Eugene Paul, Chris Hotch, Lee Oken, Gloria Barr, and Evelyn Mayer, who will be laid to rest on Monday. We also remember those whose yahrzeit, the anniversary of whose passing, occurs at this time. Benjamin Adlin, Ann K. Ahalt, Marion Allen, Sharon L. Balber, Fred Lee Barber, George Benz, Carol Berger, Eli V. Berger, Charles Berlin, Richard Berlin, Sally Cushing, Joe Roney Denman, Stanley Dreyer, Harry Fallis, Nate Feld, Celia Gisela Frank, Jacob Samuel Freeman, Roger Gagney, Erwin Geller, Bert Goodstone, Murray Gottfried, Etta Gross, Hugo Gross, Louis Arthur Gross, Cecilia Hollander, Harold Horovitz, Lester Cantor, Rhoda Carpe, Fred Katz, Ali Keskaner, Jean Klinger, Martin Kornfeld, Elizabeth Falk Lassman, Herbert Leiston, Donald Levine, Samuel Levine, Edmund Levy, Lillian Levy, Geraldine Linsky, Eleanor Joan McCulloch, Alan Morrison, Roman Naroditsky, Pearl Orlowski, Susan Pachevsky, Rosalind Pollock, Myron Harry Robb, Joyce Rabinowitz, Moses Reber, Helen Sean Farber, Robert Siegel, Anna Shainwald, David Lawrence Sloan, Virginia Smijelski, Irving Solomon, Virginia Swindle, Rose Haber Towell, Bernard Udell, Harold M. Unger, Sergio Vasquez, Phoebe Walters, Albert Weinberg, Ruth G. Weizenkorn, Lawrence Wertheim, and Ruth Wise. We remember them as we remember Emma Wolfe, Ruth Zach, and Dorothy Zander. I apologize. We remember each of them even as we remember all of our own loved ones who are no longer with us, who, though unmentioned, are always in our hearts. We thank God for having shared their lives with us. As we rise, if you're able, joining together in the words of Kaddish Yatom, the mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon, v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, v'agala u'vizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal, shmei dekudesha barichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shalama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved, as we say together, amen. You may be seated. Don't go anywhere. If you are watching online, we have a very, very special closing song. But before we get there, just a couple quick announcements. Again, Torah Circle tomorrow, or Torah Study. Torah Circle is also a very important announcement, but we'll stick with Torah Study tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Again, our Shabbat morning and last day Passover Yizkor service at 10:30. Next week on Thursday, we observe Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day. We will be handing over our Facebook page to the Florida Holocaust Museum, where they will be streaming all day Thursday the reading of names, survivor testimonials. It should be a really, really powerful day. Anytime you're free, you can come over and view that. We'll be ending with a service led by the rabbis and cantors from both Hillsborough and Pinellas County. More information will be coming out next week. Again, to those who are with us tonight, it's wonderful having you. To those online or at home, we're so glad you're with us. For our services moving forward, if you go to the sign-up sheet, if you do want to come and be with us in person, it's no longer first choice, second choice, third choice. We really do think we can accommodate those who want to be here. So it's just tell us when you want to come, and if for some reason we have too many, we will let you know. But again, for those who are most comfortable at home, we hope you'll stay home and stay safe. For those who want to be here, we hope you'll be here and be safe. Most importantly, that we're all celebrating Shabbat together.
So our closing song is a special one. I wanted the choir to participate, and I was so hoping we'd have a chance now. So the choir, or certain members of the choir, put together a choir video, or sang for me and put together a choir video, and I made one. And the name is Odecha. This comes from the Hallel, which is a collection of psalms and readings that are recited after the morning tefillah on the 3 festivals, on Hanukkah, and on Rosh Chodesh. So this particular one is Psalm 118, from which we get our name of our synagogue, Congregation Schaarai Zedek Avo Odeya, pardon me? Avovam. So that's where we got the name of our synagogue. Hold a second. There it is. Open the gates of righteousness for me, that I may enter into them and praise Adonai. If you read a little further down, you're going to find Odecha Kianitani, which is, I praise you, for you have answered me and become my deliverance. And so we are going to be, you're going to sing this final song. I hope you enjoy it. Members of the Kolenu Choir.
Odecha ki anitani, vatehi li Yeshua. Odecha ki anitani, vatehi li Yeshua. Yeshua. Odecha ki anitani, vatehi li Yeshua. Odecha ki anitani, vatehi li Haitai lerosh binah. Eren ma'asu havonim, haitai lerosh binah. Odecha ki amitani, vatehi li Yeshua. Odecha ki amitani, vatehi li Yeshua. Me'et Adonai haitai zot. Divinat enelu, ze hayom asa Adonai, nagia v'nismechago. Odecha ki anitani, vatehi li Yeshua. Odecha ki anitani, vatehi li Yeshua.
Well, Cantor, I think you had almost a little too much fun with that one, but that was a lot of fun. Thank you, Cantor Canizaro for putting that together, for working with the members of our choir, and to all those who participated. What a wonderful way to celebrate the entirety of our Passover, to let us look back and think of all of the wonderful moments that we shared. Another prayer of thanks that the car alarm didn't go off at the beginning of the service. Oh, it ended. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yavarech et amo v'shalom. May God give strength unto this people, blessing this and all peoples with the gift of peace. Before we say goodbye, we will be continuing with our Zoom Oneg Shabbat. So give us just a moment to get that started. But if you're at home and would like to visit with others, the link to that is right at our front page, www.zedek.org. Just click on Zoom Oneg and it'll take you right there. And again, Rabbi Weiss noted that on our temple calendar, it said tonight is a Passover Oneg. So even though we don't have food at the congregation, a reminder, it is still Passover until tomorrow night. So we will have a special Passover Oneg Shabbat tonight in each of your homes. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for worshiping with us tonight.
Yeah.